Good evening. Welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, January 14. If you are watching live on Monday, January 14, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 769-1677. As always, you can watch us live on either Cablevision or Verizon Cable TV, and you can also watch both live and later on through on-demand webcast at pctv76.org. Our next regular meeting is Monday, January 28, 2 weeks from today at 8 p.m. with a work session at 7. I had a few announcements to make. The first one was, for those of you who may not be aware, our Farm Market Committee has morphed into an entity called Foodchester. Long story behind that, but the short version of it is that this extraordinary group of people with all kinds of energy have taken the momentum of our summer farm market and turned it into a winter farm market, which takes place every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the middle school cafeteria at 40 Romer Avenue. You can park in the middle school lot adjacent to the turf field and avail yourself of a wide variety of produce as well as prepared foods and meat and cider and donuts and all kinds of remarkable stuff. It was an extraordinarily successful kickoff 2 weeks ago with almost 1,000 people coming and nearly that number coming the second week. There are 20 some odd vendors, if I got that right, Mindy?
Yes, and that changes every week. They have some rotations of vendors coming in, which is great.
So get thee to the middle school cafeteria between the hours of 9 and 1 any Saturday from now until May, when eventually the farm market reopens again in the plaza. But it's really a great success, a great opportunity for people in Pleasantville and the nearby environs to buy stuff that isn't otherwise available. And thanks very much to the school district for having made this possible by providing the use of the cafeteria. So that was great. Also wanted to mention that we had a happy occasion this Saturday with the ribbon cutting on the new rec center, which is the former ambulance corps building on Marble Avenue. I think is it 48 Marble? If I got the address right?
Yep.
Mindy and Colleen and I were there on Saturday to snip the ribbon on the new rec center. The offices for the rec department, which have been for the last some years here on the third floor at Village Hall, have been moved to the new rec center at 48 Marble, and we also have a small kitchen and pantry and be able to run some programs that take advantage of that. And what was formerly the garage bays for the ambulances has been turned into really a very nice and attractive multi-purpose room that'll be used for all kinds of rec programs. And we are shortly, I think, to have some policies and a price list in place to make that available for rentals as well.
Yes.
So that
Set a fee schedule for that.
I'm working on that for you. We'll have it next
Great.
week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
there have already been some people interested in that, and if that seems like an opportunity for you, instead of having a kid's birthday party circling from your dining room to your living room to your kitchen, we would be pleased to have you as a customer. So it certainly is not everything we wish we might have, but in a constrained environment, a great opportunity for us. The board seized the day, and we now have a rec center at 48 Wheeler.
And Marble.
I'm sorry, Marble.
48 Wheeler was the old
That's right.
Village Hall address.
I was going to say, right.
See, it's just coming back at you. But there already are some new programs that we've been able to add to our recreation schedule, and one of them is cooking again. So that's very exciting. We're bringing my children down there and then coming out with flour all over their face with some great recipes and good times. So that's another something we can reestablish as a great program for the kids in the village.
So, happy news, and any of you who have occasion to do business for the rec department, you go down to Marble Avenue adjacent to the football field, and happily there's also a small parking lot there, so it's easier to transact your business as well. So, and kudos to Linda Bellafato and her rec staff for the good work they have done, and struggling through the necessary interval of the move. I think everything's up and running now. So.
Yes, finally, email. And the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board worked very hard on the approvals and the trials and tribulations of moving it over there.
So for those of you who wonder if government ever does anything for you, Here is our proudest moment.
Is that our proudest moment?
One of them.
Thanks an awful lot to our recycling committee and to Kathy Tucherone down in the DPW office. We were able to get a grant that helped to underwrite the cost of new recycling bins. So these are 18-gallon recycling bins, which are the next size up from the ones that some of you may have that I think still say the reporter dispatch on them, which is an indication of how old they are. The village has not distributed new recycling bins for a very, very long time. So they're emblazoned on the side with PleasantvilleRecycles.org. Shane, did you get that? Which is the website of our Pleasantville Recycling Committee. And the Recycling Committee is putting together a flyer here that says, say hello to your new big 18-gallon recycling bin. So
So how will they be distributed?
Patty, has that been determined yet?
Not with a great amount of detail. We expect these to go out the end of the month.
Okay.
We are evaluating now routes to distribute them because we have to break out those households that have more than one refuse unit or charge, for the house if they're 2-3 family homes. So we're coordinating that with the list because some people will get more than one if they
Can I
have.
take that one?
Oh, you want one right
Me.
now? Because you
No,
can save us a trip.
We should actually leave it here for our own paper.
Right.
We
That would
expect,
be-
we're waiting for we're working with the recycling committee on the flyers that are going to be distributed with those bins, so people have a sense of what other things we have available, for information for recycling for them. So they'll be left a bin with a flyer. So I have to get them printed. It will be probably about a week before we get all of that coordinated, and by the end of the month, we should be out with them.
Okay.
All right, so at any rate, very good news. And now, as we have mentioned in the past, plastics can be recycled numbers 1 through 7, an expanded plastic recycling, and if my house is indicative, that additional recycling stream has warranted a bigger bin, and now the bigger bin will arrive. So thanks again to our recycling committee, and thanks to Kathy Tucherone, who bird-dogged the grant that helped make this possible. And I remind you again that PleasantvilleRecycles.org is a great source of news and also a great source of information about how you can get rid of things in a sustainable way. They have a recycling A to Z, and if you have something kicking around the basement or the garage you've been trying to get rid of, you can find out how to get rid of it in a safe and responsible way, or conceivably free cycle it to somebody else who can put it to good use. The last thing I had on my list in the category of announcements, as I mentioned a couple of meetings back, I have added my name to the Mayors Against Illegal Guns Statement of Principles. It's an organization that was founded by Mayor Bloomberg of New York and Mayor Menino of Boston, and I have been receiving quite a bit of material about the issue of illegal guns. Anyone who is interested in reading more about what that organization is about can find that easily on the web at demandaplan.org. But Wednesday of this week, day after tomorrow, is an advocacy day in Washington, D.C., and I will be joining any other mayors who are members of the organization who are able to go for an all-day event at the Capitol, seeking to draw attention to what I would present and what I think most of the co-signers present as common sense kinds of steps. This is not an attack on the Second Amendment. It is simply an attempt to get better control over the flow of illegal guns that endangers all of us, and certainly, as we saw in some of the recent incidents that have happened around the country, endanger our kids as well. So I'll have more to report when I come back from that. Part of that program is a briefing on the status of legislation that exists right now, and part of it will be a series of meetings with various congressional staff members in each of our districts to find out what their view is of the lay of the land. But I do encourage anyone who is interested in the subject to take a look at that website, demandaplan.org, because there are a lot of interesting background materials that help shed light on the subject. So stay tuned on that front. Anybody else have anything to add? All right. Is there comment from the public before we open our public hearings? Anybody? Call-in number is 769-1677. There being no speakers. Is there a motion to open a public hearing on a local law amending Chapter 173, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 173-60, Schedule 12, parking prohibited on Lake Street?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Patty, do you want to describe the change?
What we are proposing to do is to eliminate parking on the south side of Lake Street, that's the non-residential side. From the corner of Broadway to a certain distance, there would be no parking permitted at any time. And then from a point further east of that, there would be limited parking during certain months when the pool is in operation, which essentially is from mid-May through mid-September. So in order to allow effective code enforcement, we put those as a date certain window of time from May 15th through September 15th. There would be parking permitted on a certain portion of Lake Street to accommodate overflow at the pool. And then beyond that, there would continue to be no parking, for the rest of the year.
And where is that 1,1105 feet? What point is that?
It's
From Broadway to about Hongevo, to the guardrail.
Oh, I see.
Right
Okay.
across from Hongevo.
We
And
all
again,
pronounce
right,
that differently.
sorry.
Yeah, I'll let Mindy take the stab at pronouncing that
So,
street. We call it Hovenjova.
So from
Hovenjova.
Yeah,
Fro-
I'm sorry,
so-
I probably said it wrong.
No, we all pronounce it
Again,
differently.
on the grassy side of the street,
But everybody knows
it
where
would
it is.
prohibit parking from Broadway up to about Oangevo, and then from that point, for an additional 420 feet, which is essentially up to the pool,
Yeah.
That's correct.
parking would be permitted in the summer, but prohibited from September 15 to May 15.
Right, up to the parking lot entrance,
Well,
essentially.
I have a question. I mean, why not just make it, if we're going to do that, why don't just make it no parking on Broadway at all?
Well, because
Except for that carve
From
out
Broadway
period.
East. the
On
entire-
Lake Street, you
On
mean?
on Lake Street, except for the carve out dates.
that is what we're doing.
That's what
No,
we're
we're
doing.
not. We end it at, we don't,
No,
take it all the way to the pool.
No, it says.
It is all the way.
It is all the way to pool, except for the summer.
Oh, I thought that this 1050 was,
That's up to Hoangevo. Then
Yeah.
the second piece we're adding is from that point, for an additional 420 feet,
There's no parking.
There's no parking except in the summer months.
In the summer months, right.
you see it?
yes.
So the thrust of
Gotcha.
that is that except the summer months, there would be no parking on the grassy side of Lake Street.
At all.
And there is already no parking on the
Great.
residential side.
Yeah, there's no
Right,
place to park.
'cause it's a
there.
narrow
It's a
place.
narrow
That's
road.
fine.
So, Mindy, you see this every day.
Yes.
What we're trying to address here is significant erosion
Yes.
and damage to the grassy side, which is really a park-like setting, or we hope it
And
will
it's a
be.
buffer right to the stream, right, and then, which is, there's illicit discharge issues that are going on there. That whole buffer has been worn out, and it's a problem now.
So once we have, assuming we enact this, we could start to restore the grass and so.
So is there never parking used for the pool in that first 1,105 feet? Is that
Not
never-
normally, that's very thin through there, and it's
Right.
right by the pump house, and, on
So
those
it
rare.
never gets used as pool
Very
parking?
rarely. I mean, if.
'Cause that's
it's
only
mo-
420
Mostly when you see a car there, it's from the homeowners that are across the street.
So, right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I
This
trust
is a
you, Craig.
guardrail.
You guys went out and looked,
Right.
Yeah.
but, that's only 420 feet
Yeah.
from the parking lot, existing parking lot, down towards Broadway,
To the
which
guardrail.
is the length of a football field. It seems, I've seen cars on busy days, hot days, park further down that
I
strip.
think that what you see is up into that guardrail, because from the guardrail up to Lake Street, a good portion of that 1,000 feet is sidewalk. That,
Okay.
before the pump house, from Broadway to the pump house is sidewalk. For quite a bit of way. And then it's the bridge.
It turns into a path.
and you go up into the path, and it's very thin through there.
But in through there,
And-
but
yeah,
that is
and then
part
you
of
get
the
to the
1105
guardrail
feet.
of right across from Hongevo. That's about 1,100 feet, yeah.
Okay.
And then it starts to get a little wider. And that's usually where people park. The cars that you see there are usually the homeowners' cars that are before the guardrail, that first 1,000 feet.
So, I mean, certainly, the last thing we have as a goal is to harm any homeowner's interests, but the reality here is that that's public land, and the problem has gotten to the point that we felt it was necessary to
Right.
take some actions.
And it's also a flood area. I mean, that's usually flooded out, and which causes a different set of issues through there.
All right, any comment from the public or anyone who wants to call in this subject, 769-1677? Any further comment?
And those homeowners have all been noticed on this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to
We didn't
close
get
the
any comments back.
Okay.
We don't have anything
Fair
back.
enough.
motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That item is on our agenda in the resolutions as number 4. We have a second public hearing. Is there a motion to open a public hearing on a local law amending Village Code, Chapter 173, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 173-63, Schedule 15, parking prohibited certain hours, and 173-60, Schedule 12, parking prohibited at all times on Parkway Terrace?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is open. Patty, do you want to describe this one?
This would effectively create no parking on, do I say what side? I think, again, it's the south side. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Judy.
I thought it was the south, the entire length.
South side.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we're doing here is we are regulating parking on both sides of the street, now that it's a one-way street.
Right.
And on the north side, which is the side adjacent to the parkway, we are going to continue with the existing regulations in effect. Basically, parking is permitted Monday through Friday at all hours except the hour of 10 to 11 a.m., and that is basically the commuter rule in that neighborhood. Most of the streets around there are regulated where there's no parking 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on any of
In an
those
effort
side
to
streets.
avoid having these streets become de facto commuter parking?
That's correct.
That's right.
On the opposite side, on Parkway Terrace, which is the residential side, because of the roadway width, we need to prohibit parking on-street at all times. Basically, no parking on-street. Now, that does not mean that people cannot pull off-street, as they do, and park in the right-of-way, which we've been allowed under special ordinance that the village adopted many years ago.
So, in essence, the parking on the residential side of Parkway Terrace will remain essentially as it is now.
Provided people pull off
They
of
have to
the
pull off the
street.
pavement, and there's enough room to do so.
Yes, there is, yeah. I mean, it's,
Um,
yeah, I guess you
so-
can attest to it, but we have some residents here tonight.
We're
that can
calling this
speak
the
to
north
it.
and south side of the street, but the street is parallel to the sawmill. Is the sawmill actually going east-west at that point?
Yes, it bends right there.
Okay.
I would think it does. Yeah, we actually use, we do use our assessment north arrow when we
Okay.
do these things, so, but yes, it does.
All right.
Otherwise, the parkway's north and south.
It's, on the north side, it's now curbed, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And there's
Curved
a
and-
sidewalk.
And a sidewalk.
And it's
That's
striped.
correct. That's
for
correct.
Parking.
So, the north side is the side, the wooded
The river
side,
side.
Other side.
and the south side is the residential side.
That's correct.
So-
And
Okay,
it's not curbed on the south side?
It is not.
No.
There's a white, there should be a white line down now? It's coming. There'll be a solid white line, which will
An
define
arm.
the pavement.
all right. Is there any comment from the public? Did you guys have anything to add to that? If so, you need to come this way. If not,
There'll be no parking on the riverside?
On the river side, yes, except 10 to 11.
Okay.
Just like it's always been that rule, believe it or not. It probably hasn't been posted properly, or at least may
see,
not
the,
have
the
been.
trouble we have in neighborhoods close to the train station is that people from other towns or people who don't have a parking permit want to park all day and walk to the train station, and it moves around and can become quite overwhelming very fast. The word travels fast about where you can park and avoid paying for it.
It's
So
amazing.
um,
If we don't have a neighborhood that's signed with this no parking between 10 and 11, you'll have,
Previously
block.
had the sign and it worked just like you said.
right,
Right.
Yeah, and
it's
it's
amazing.
not, the enforcement's not aggressive. I mean, we basically can respond to complaints, though, this way. This way, if it's properly signed, we can respond to that.
So just to be clear, Patty, the parking on the residential side, where these residents have often parked in front of their homes, is off the pavement, and that's right-of-way parking that's permitted, even in snow conditions.
Yes, but, you know,
But the
people know
parking
that
on
it's
the,
not...
on the other
not
side of
that's-
the street,
not the easiest thing to
new parking adjacent to the river and the sawmill is an area where, in a snow condition, you have to get off the road.
Winter rules have always applied notoriously to that street, but people were able to pull off because it wasn't curbed. The problem now with the sidewalk and with curbs on the river side, on the north side, is that it's still subject to your overnight rules and regulations.
Okay, so that means that in the winter, from December to
Unless the board
April
wants to exempt it, but,
1,
you know, you have to...
that people could not park overnight on the far side of the street.
That's correct.
But they were never able to do that.
Well, they
Well,
never
they
did, they
were-
pulled off.
They
Yeah.
pulled off
Yeah.
because they could pull
Yeah.
off, so.
They really don't have the ability to pull off. I mean, we
Does that sound like a problem?
worst case, people will
Okay.
be plowed in. You know,
All
I
right,
mean, that's
yeah.
the worst
Okay,
case. They're
fine.
going to be
So,
plowed in.
that's fine. So if there are any comments from the public or anyone wants to call in at 769-1677, this is the sort of final piece of the improvement that has been discussed for a long time with a number of neighbors and has finally been executed. Parkway Terrace is now one-way from Manville to Bedford and has been improved on the Sawmill side to provide better parking and to improve the edge. So
And we took out the cutout onto the parkway.
all right, any
There's still
further?
people going down
Where
that
are
street.
all the I just noticed today, actually, there's quite a few cars that park on both sides of that street. Are those residents' cars? I mean, today, for example, I drove by in the morning, and there were cars parked both sides of the street.
For example, there was a blue Saturday was there.
Microphone, I apologize.
Yeah.
You have to come up.
Yep.
Thank you, Shane.
I'm not aware.
Thanks, Terry. It's your turn.
Trying to make you famous here.
Just say your name if you would and your address, please.
Hi, I'm Terry Conway. I live on Parkway Terrace. I think there's one rental home on the street, so they do have, I believe, 3 apartments in that one home. There's only 4 homes on the street, so I think a lot of the cars come from the rental. I don't think it's a problem. I think they've had parking in front
Yeah.
of their home. There
Right.
was one car recently this week that was there all week, and it was just towed. The gentleman's car broke down, so. But normally, I don't think there is a problem, and we followed along with the village since 1999 when we moved on to Parkway Terrace, and quickly recognized with small children that it was a big problem, Parkway Terrace, for safety, because a lot of, especially the children, use it going between the convenience stores in Parkway Field and over to Roselle and back and forth, and it was used as a quick on-ramp slip to the Parkway to the Sawmill Parkway. So I just want to thank the village, because working and following along with the planning that 3 mayors had to do and 2 village administrators, and it really
We
made
jumped
it
right on.
so much safer, though.
Yeah, yeah.
It took a long
That's what we
time.
did.
You
Quick
have been
work.
unbelievable.
Well, I was
Your
gonna say,
patience and your
you're awfully
presentations,
kind to-
always.
You're off.
When you're college age,
Every-
children.
My children were 4 years old, and now they're off to college, but it's nice with them
Your
now because they
grandchildren
they both
appreciate
volunteer
it.
for PVAC.
I was
so they're
about
in
to
and
say,
out
Right.
you
all
know,
days, they're all
PVAC
hours,
guys.
and it's nice that it's a lot safer for everyone in general. The cars aren't speeding down the street, and I myself, taking the train, get to use the sidewalk now to walk safely home, so it's
And there
it's
hasn't been a
wonderful
problem with
improvement.
the one-way change with the...
There was originally,
Yes.
there were a lot of people going both ways, but I think a rare occasion you'll see someone still come down the street the wrong way, but I think everybody has gotten the message now, and the old just habit of turning onto the
Right.
street
Yeah.
has
Right.
Seen
ceased,
that.
so.
And having cars on both sides parked the right way is a visual cue that
Right.
you're going the wrong way down the one-way
Right,
street
they
too,
kind of
so-
get it and turn around, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I think everybody has.
I
it
actually
now.
saw a guy trying catching himself to
Yeah, me
do the
too.
thing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that'll probably happen once in a while, but, yeah, it's much better, so we thank the village.
All right, I thank you. That was
Thank you.
awfully kind, so.
Sorry it took so long.
Is there any further comment or any comment from the public? Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed, and that item is number 5 on our list of resolutions. Mrs. Conway's comments reminded me of an announcement I forgot to make, and that is that a week ago Friday night, I attended the installation dinner for the Pleasantville Volunteer Ambulance Corps, and on that occasion, both of the Conway sons were called out as in the top 10, I think, of responders in terms of the number of calls that they responded to. And it reminds us of the many, many, many people who are happy to get out of bed at all hours of the night to come and help anybody in need. PVAC is an extraordinary operation under the leadership of Captain Kelly Connolly, and it was a happy night and a great opportunity to say thanks to so many people who help us out. So hard to say it often enough that Volunteer Ambulance Corps and the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department are providing an extraordinary service to all of us, and one that is not just plain old volunteerism. It's one that requires a very high degree of skill and training, as well as substantial responsibility. So an impressive thing, and thanks to the Conways for having brought up two sons who have given back in such an impressive way.
Thank you.
Any further comment, questions? We will go to the resolutions. Number 1, first of the year.
Resolved that pre-check register dated January 14, 2013, covering check number 74262 through 74437, has been reviewed, and they are hereby approved as listed below. From the general fund, special purpose
Thank you.
fund, water fund, capital fund, refuse fund, and pool fund, totaling $705,238.22.
Is there a second?
Second.
Painful that the first resolution of the year is one where we spent $705,000, but there are a number of expensive line items that happen to fall into this, including a payment for some capital programs. So, Patty, I noticed those capital programs checks have all been vetted by the appropriate department heads.
Yes, and I also have a comment back, that was the little whistle that blew from Jeff about the Corsi bill. That was for the loader tires. If you remember, he spoke to us about
Yes.
having
Yes.
to acquire new tires for the loader.
Okay.
So-
Also, there was one other charge, for the sewage work on Bedford and Locust. Are we getting reimbursed for that, for some of that?
On Bedford and Locust.
The water main?
I think
Oh,
it-
water, yes.
Yeah,
that-
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we
We would.
getting
No,
reimbursement?
that is,
That's not out here. This
Yes,
is
that's
the one-
outside the
Oh, right,
village.
That's outside
right.
the village, yeah. So we're going to get a reimbursement, because that's pretty hefty as
We
well.
recapture those expenses
And,
based on,
just so, Judy, I have to recuse myself. There's a reimbursement for escrow for me in here, my husband, for our house, so I have to recuse myself from this.
for a deposit?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right, any further comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. And one recusal.
Yes, one recusal for.
Motion approved, the first of the year. Number 2, Indy.
The result that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the minutes of the meeting held on Monday, December 17th, and they are hereby approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or corrections?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, number 3.
Jonathan?
Jonathan?
I know.
Oh.
It's short.
It is short.
Yeah.
It's just, it's both joyous and disappointing at the same time.
We're going to vote no on this.
The Board of Trustees hereby accepts the resignation letter from Virginia Pancotti, Community Outreach Worker, effective Friday, March 29, 2013.
Is there a second?
Second.
Painful, actually, to second that.
Yes.
Virginia Pancotti has been an extraordinary department head here for the Village of Pleasantville for a long time, and her work is very much appreciated by lots and lots of people in the senior program. Those of you who watched our last meeting know that we have appointed Joni Ehrlich, who's working part-time at the moment in the transition and will follow in Virginia's footsteps in developing the program at the senior center. So more later on the subject
Yes,
of
more later on
Virginia
the subject. And just
Pancotti.
so, this was, we have to be happy for her.
Yeah,
This is a great next move, and as much as we're going to miss her terribly, this is another step in her life, and she's going to have all this free time on her hands. She's probably going to come back and work part-time, knowing her.
I suggested to her that she run for mayor.
Yeah.
So,
Second.
She is a village resident.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 4, Brian.
This is what we talked about earlier about Lake Street. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves a local law amending Chapter 173 Vehicles and Traffic, Section 173-60, Schedule 12, parking prohibited at all times as follows. We are adding prohibiting parking on Lake Street on the south side from Broadway east for 1,105 feet, and on Lake Street on the south side, no parking from September 15th through May 15th from 1,105 feet from Broadway for 420 feet.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the subject of the public hearing we just opened and closed. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 5.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves a local law amending Chapter 173 Vehicles and Traffic, Sections 173-63, Schedule 15, parking prohibited certain hours, and 173-60, Schedule 12, parking prohibited at all times as follows. We're deleting Section 173-63 on Parkway Terrace from both sides from 10 to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday, except holidays, the entire length. And we are adding on Parkway Terrace on the north side, 10 to 11 a.m., Monday through Friday, except holidays, parking prohibited for the entire length, and adding parking prohibited at all times on Parkway Terrace, the south side of the street, the entire length of the street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or corrections, or not corrections, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 6.
Resolved that the board hereby authorizes the village clerk to notice a public hearing for Monday, February 11th, 2013, 8 p.m. prevailing time, 80 Wheeler Avenue, Pleasantville, New York, to hear comments as it pertains to amending the Village Code, Chapter 166, Taxation, Article 7, Tax Lien Sales, Section 166-28, Continuation of Collection of Property Taxes as follows. The Article 16628 will be deleted. Continuation of collection of property taxes. The collection of property taxes shall continue to be enforced pursuant to Title III of Article 14 of Real Property Tax Law as in effect on December 31st, 1994.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is the posting of a public hearing on February 11. We can describe in more detail what this is about, but it's revising our code to reflect the means by which we enforce delinquent taxes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 7, Jonathan.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts an anonymous donation in the amount of $10,000 towards the Pleasantville Senior Citizens Program and Services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Very
generous,
An extraordinary thing to be able to read. As those of you who watch us regularly know, our senior programs routinely generate contributions of various kinds, and to have an anonymous donation in the amount of $10,000 is a remarkable piece of news for which we are grateful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Number 8.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the emergency sewer repair to Landy Contracting, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $49,900.
Is there a second?
Second.
Patty, the $49,900, well, first off, perhaps you should describe what's going on.
Right, we had used that number just to get the resolution promulgated this
Right.
evening because we were waiting on an estimate for the repair work from a nighttime, for a quote for nighttime work. We have a situation right outside Village Hall here on Bedford Road that just occurred about a month or so ago when we had a serious sewer backup. We just actually diagnosed it recently, but we had a serious sewer backup in Village Hall basement sometime in November. By the time we were able to figure out exactly how and why the sewer line had backed up to cause sewage to back up in our basement, we discovered that there's a collapse in a pipe that exists right outside of Village Hall here on Bedford Road, about 14 feet deep, just outside the abutments of the railroad bridge, and as you could imagine, it's not the best spot to have a sewer break. We need to repair it right away. If fails again, not only will we have, again, substantial business interruption, but so would everybody on this side of Wheeler Avenue, on our side of Wheeler, because all of the laterals go out the back of the building into this pipe that collapsed. So to the extent that we could acquire some quotes, we did acquire 2 quotes from 2 different contractors that we know the county would approve as contractors to work within the county's right-of-way, because Bedford Road is a county road. We'd gotten our work permit just today from the county, so we would like to jump on this right away and get this repair done. Because it's a repair, we would have to take the money out of contingency. We have the money available. So this evening, we're asking the board to approve an emergency contract to be let to Peter Landy. We have decided, I think, collectively to do this project during the day to suspend parking on the bridge on that side of Bedford Road, so we can try to maintain 2 ways, 2-directional traffic flow during the repair. We expect the traffic to be interrupted for about 5 days, as long as the weather cooperates.
Because that's a county bus stop right there, too.
Yes. Yeah.
So that will be clear for the bus. The
Yeah.
bus service will still.
If we can't maintain 2-way directional traffic, we'll flag it that way.
Right.
We'll be able to control it. But I don't think it's worth going into the expense for, for nighttime work,
Right.
particularly if we have problems at night.
And had a discussion last week about the idea of trying to do it at night to minimize the impact on traffic during the day, and also about the possibility of trying to wait. Colleen suggested perhaps we could wait until the school break week in February, which would be a time of less traffic as well. But the additional cost to do it at night was about $11,000 or $12,000. So, Patty, should we revise this resolution to refer to the base price, not the night differential price?
Yes, that's fine. I would revise it to not to exceed, let's say,
the cost
$40,000.
is not to exceed, you want to say 40?
Yeah, let's say $40,000.
The actual bid
And,
price is $35,000, additional cost if needed for extra backfill, potentially $3,000. So if we say
Right.
$40,000,
I think that's
that
safe to
leaves you a
say.
contingency. So
Leaves a
the mover, happy
contingency.
with that change?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also,
Okay.
the resolution should state that the money would be appropriated from our contingency fund within the general fund.
Okay, so that can get added. Movers, seconder, okay with that?
Yes.
All right, so the grim reality is, as Patty mentioned, this pipe is about 14 or 15 feet deep, and it requires quite a bit of excavation to get down to it. So it's going to be an ugly mess outside of the side of Village Hall on Bedford Road for about 5 days. Any clarity when it will start, Patty?
It'll start tomorrow.
Can we
Tomorrow.
send an
Really?
Yeah, I'm
email
just
out?
sending Jeff a notice now.
Can we
because he
send
wants
an
to
email out
mobilize
on our
it.
email blast?
Yes,
Yes, I
that's
mean,
a
you won't
good
see
idea.
mobilization. You'll see mobilization in a few days, hopefully
Okay.
we'll...
So it won't, the shovel won't.
No, I don't believe
All
it.
right, so
I mean,
I
we're
think-
Sometime this
we're
week?
going to engage them in contract tomorrow. We need the insurance
Yeah.
requirements, all the stuff to
All
be
right,
met.
so
very
Colin has a
quickly,
good point. Let's make sure we send out an
Yes,
email
thank
Each you. day.
blast
Okay.
so that people are aware of it and also get it up on the website.
Okay.
Another opportunity to remind people that you can sign up for village alerts as well as information on various subjects at pleasantville-ny.gov. Left-hand column, subscribe to news. You'll be given a bunch of choices. It would be great if everybody would do that.
And it would be probably a good idea for someone to let the school know, the school board.
We
Yes,
have
that's
to-
also true.
Officially.
Yeah. I know, when people say they're late, they'll have an excuse.
But we're not,
Blame it
we're
on-
asking them not to start until 8:30, so,
Correct.
It'll
that
still
will-
be a problem in the afternoon. Right?
The
So-
afternoon.
All right, did we
Not
vote?
late
Did
for
we
school,
vote?
at least.
Walk.
Did we,
I don't.
did we vote,
No, we
Judy?
did not.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 9.
That's me, I
Colleen,
believe.
yes.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the waiver or abatement of penalties policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
We are periodically presented with a request for an abatement of a penalty for late payment of various kinds of things. And Patty, you want to describe what you put together here?
Yeah, well, we put together what we believe reflects the board's, opinion on how we could handle appeals for penalty waivers for water bills. And essentially, it does set some guidance for the administrators that are dealing with this in our finance department, as well as it keeps a consistent policy for the board as well. Under what circumstances would the board consider waiving a penalty on a water bill, or under what circumstances the board would consider abatement of penalties while people were catching up with substantial arrears on their bills.
So, just to be clear, we do not routinely approve those abatements of penalties, since late payment of any kind of bill disadvantages the other taxpayers who are responsible for maintaining the cash flow for the village. But there are some circumstances, and we can post this on the web if
I think it would be helpful. I mean,
it would be
the
helpful
village
to
code
do
does
it.
allow you to consider waivers. We just never had guidance, and people have always
So
asked.
we've established a number of factors
Sorry.
that would support a claim for reasonable cause, and identified factors that don't support a claim for reasonable cause, and that will help us hopefully guide decisions in the future, and also hopefully recognizing the fact that most requests for waivers are going to be denied, provide a reasonable basis to do so, so that people recognize that they are being treated fairly, which has always been our goal right from the start. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Number 10.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from Holy Innocents to close the Tompkins Avenue parking lot on Saturday, February 9th, 2013, beginning at 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. for their annual Ladies' High Tea.
Is there a second?
Second.
An occasion to remind people who may not know that parking lot, the corner of Tompkins and Manville, is actually owned by the church, and we benefited from it almost all the time. It's restricted to church use during certain periods on the weekend when there are services, and obviously in a situation like this, the church is running a special event. We are happy to give them back their own lot on this occasion. So.
This is an annual event, an anniversary every year.
So it's been a very beneficial arrangement whereby the village takes responsibility for maintaining and plowing it in exchange for having the advantaged use of most of the spaces in that lot most of the time. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Number 11.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorize the village administrator to sign the amendment to the contract of May 17, 2004 for parking ticket management services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Patty, you want to describe this?
Yeah, the village has engaged Complus many years to be its third-party service to help process and manage automated tickets, parking tickets. And Complus now has some new equipment that we would like to be able to benefit from, particularly the handheld ticket writers, and upgrade the software. And in order for them to do that, we needed to amend our existing agreement with Complus, which basically says that Complus will retain 11% of collections for in-state tickets and 13.5% for all out-of-state tickets that we collect on as part of their fee for providing all of the support services for database management and ticket
But this
management.
is just an upgrade of the machine.
That's all it really
Yeah.
is, and it's also, it extends our agreement, which has always been extended on an annual basis until either party decides not to renew it.
We've looked at points in the past about the possibility of doing this work in-house, and it's quite clear, I think, that outsourcing it is by far the best solution for us because, first off, we simply pay a commission for the service on the revenues actually produced, and Complus has a quite sophisticated system that we're able to use and have no responsibility for maintaining it. So, good opportunity to remind people that if you do get a parking ticket, you can pay it online. The instructions for doing so are right on the ticket that gets written, and that is by far the easiest way to do it. So I recommend you take advantage of that if that's of interest. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Number 12.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village attorney to proceed with the settlement of certiorari petition by Rex Realty of Connecticut, Inc., 54-64 Washington Avenue, Section 106.6, Block 1, Lot 48 and 48.1 as follows. It's for 3 years in year 2010 with the original assessment $234,525. The revised assessment in that year is $192,150 for a refund of $3,383.01. In 2011, the same original assessment, the revised assessment at $208,950 for a refund of $2,102.31. And in 2012, the original assessment at $234,525, the revised assessment $200,500 for a refund of $2,877.13 for a total of $8,362.45.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the first of 3 consecutive resolutions we have on approval of certiorari settlements. Each of them has a backup memo, advice of counsel from Keenan Bean, the law firm that we use for tax cert matters, and we have also discussed them with the assessor. And although there are plenty of aspects of this system that are highly frustrating, we do have that backup and are responding to the advice of counsel and the advice of the assessor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead. Cast it, Nathan.
Just make it short, Jonathan. It's just like, you know.
I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna.
None of us likes it.
Yeah, none of us like it, is right.
All right.
No,
Okay.
I'm not, I don't mean to
Go ahead, just move on.
stifle your comment.
This is what I don't understand. I don't understand how 2011 to 2012, the valuation goes from $208,000 to $200,000. I don't understand how it drops in that year, and on the next one, it goes up. I just don't understand the I don't understand consistencies, even among our own, even among the work that gets done on some of this stuff. But you don't, and unfortunately, I only see it side by side right now when I take a look at the numbers. It just seems inconsistent to me. And not only do we have very little way to fight this, but at least I'd like to see some consistency in what the assessor or the lawyers or whoever it is negotiating this feel macroly on these assessments. That's the frustration I see in this. That's all. I mean, it's a couple $100, $600 probably in terms of total assessment, but I don't get it. And I would beg for greater consistency among these settlements so that at least when I look at it and puke at the utter insanity of what we're having to do here, at least there's a consistency in what we see.
Is that a nay?
It's not a nay, but it's a... And by the way, the next one that we're going to do shows
The same.
2011 to 2012 going up
By $80.
by $80,
Right,
but
so-
it's not a drop of 4%,
Jonathan,
as is in the case of...
I fully understand your
Okay.
frustration. All of us are frustrated with it. There's plenty of opportunity to challenge it, but we have challenged it repeatedly in the
I
context
understand.
of our
And I just
advisors.
have to say that I'm out there fighting every one of these things when I can and getting knocked down continually, but we're trying.
All right.
We are challenging them.
It could be said that the only thing consistent is the inconsistency.
I just want to be clear that the challenge and the frustration is essentially the system established by New York state law and by the behavior of the courts that adjudicate these,
Right.
as opposed to some perception that our own advisors are failing us.
No, I agree. I don't mean to suggest that. It kills me that the press that our legislators are getting are over things like fighting Gannett News and not out there fighting for things that actually make a difference in all of our lives. And that's what they get the press for. And if anybody would care to take up the challenge of at least bringing some rationality back to this on the state level to help the communities and really make a difference to people in their lives, this would be it.
Well, they don't bring it up because they can't explain it. They don't want the press for it because they can't explain it.
Correct.
So,
So,
I wholeheartedly endorse that thought. It is I was going to call it a wacky system, but that implies that it's wacky and benign. It is certainly not benign. It harms in each and every one of us because the system allows, indeed forces the hand of municipalities in situations where there ought to be a spirited challenge. So, anyway, just to be clear, you voted aye, right? So
Aye, yeah.
5-0 aye. 13, motion approved. Number 13, Colleen.
resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville hereby authorizes the village attorney to proceed with the settlement of certiorari petition by Fiorello, 17 Lincoln Avenue, Section 106.10, Block 1, Lot 29, as follows. In year 2009, assessment 94,850 reduced to 77,720 for a refund of 1293.37. In 2010, assessment 94,850 revised to 66,300, refund of 2279.29. In 2011, again, the same assessment, 94,850, revised to 69,120, refund of 21,1505. And in 2012, at 94,850 original assessment, revised to 69,200, with a refund of 21,6894, totaling a refund of $7,856.66.
Is there a second?
Second.
Doubtless all the comments recently made for the previous one apply to this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Number 14.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville, Hereby authorizes the village attorney to proceed with the settlement of certiorari petition by Fiorello, 314 Manville Road, Section 106.6, Block 2, Lot 10, as follows. For the years 2009 to 2012, the original assessment is $60,900. For 2009, revised assessment $48,480, refund of $937.75. 2010, $46,800, refund of $1,125.67. For 2011, revised assessment $51,840, refund $744.75. 2012, revised assessment $51,900, refund $761.03, for a total of $3,569.21.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Number 15, cabaret licenses.
Whereas the following cabaret licenses were reviewed and approved by the building inspector and the police chief, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the issuance of the cabaret licenses to the following: Paulie's of Marble Avenue, Lucy's of Bedford Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Both, as reported in the resolution, these have been reviewed and approved by the building inspector and the police chief as fulfilling the requirements in our code. All in favor?
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, what's the expiration of these licenses? Is it annual?
They're annual.
Annual.
They're annual, and it's just that they have entertainment, they have to have.
No, I just
that
wanted
for
to make sure it was
entertainment.
still annual.
Yeah.
Patty, I do have a question relative to our code. If you don't have an answer, then we don't get the discussion up. But given that overall in the village, there's been, with nearly every bar in the village, so I'm not looking to pick on anybody, and most of them have cabaret licenses. Can we have something in our code to the degree that if they are found to be in violation of serving minors, that we would not grant a cabaret license?
Yes, I mean, the code does have basis for denial, and those are,
I didn't see that in the application.
Either did I.
Number
It's not-
7.
it wouldn't be in the
it's-
application, it'd be in the code. I mean, the code does give,
It's if the partners themselves, the owners were found liable
Right.
for any other.
Sort of a
But in the
morals-
code, there's
morals
tons
clause.
of things that say why you can't. I mean, I used to own a bar and a restaurant.
we
and
have
there's,
provisions in our code, a basis for
yeah.
appeal as well, if they are denied. I mean, that's just a
I
due
think
process,
that,
right?
I think that, you know.
But we only have
I'll
2
take it away.
cabarets, there are only 2.
These
Oh, there are?
the only
That's
I
it.
thought Michael's
Every
had-
code is.
Not anymore, years
Oh,
ago they
really?
used to,
Cabarets is
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they have
You'll see.
music through a music sound system, but not live music.
Well,
There's only two.
I think that we should
pubs.
revisit that code and see if we can't, I mean, just because it's such a problem, or can be a problem with any bar serving, that if, you know, why, we can have a greater standards in terms of granting the cabaret license than
I think you can,
necessarily.
yeah, we can have that looked at to see whether or not, if there's violations of state liquor authority laws or the
Well,
like,
that's
we
where the
can
violation would.
perhaps.
Which is asked in number 7. So, I mean, just to be clear, it's a cabaret license which allows you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have live music
Live
and the like.
music.
The village is not the grantor of liquor licenses.
Liquor
at this
license.
stage. So,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
just-
We're
no, I'm
not
just-
casting
just telling
aspersions
them.
on anyone.
No,
here.
no, not at
Right.
all.
All right, all
we
in
voted.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. And number 16, Brian.
Here's some good news. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the request from the Pleasantville Volunteer Fire Department to hold their annual firefighters parade on Friday, May 31st, 2013, And further resolved that no parking signs will be posted on Friday, May 31st, restricting parking from 4 till 9 p.m. at the following locations: Memorial Plaza, Bedford Road from Martling to Marble Avenue, Manville Road from Grant Street to Grove Street, all of Grove Street, Edgewood Avenue from Washington Avenue to Grove Street, and Washington Avenue, both sides from Edgewood Avenue to Manville Road, Romer Avenue, and for the result, the Board of Trustees authorized the police department to tow all vehicles in violation of this temporary parking restriction.
Is there a second?
Second.
One of the great iconic events in Pleasantville's annual calendar, Fire Department Parade, Friday, May 31. All in
No
favor?
rain date.
Because it's not going to rain.
It's never.
Because it always rains.
Because it always
They become
rains.
experts at doing it.
Yeah.
Hell or high water.
Yeah,
It did rain last.
it did rain. The parade was over and then
We
it
had the
rained right
hurricane,
back.
That is the
you know,
rain date.
we had a microblast one year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Number 17, Colleen.
That the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following budget amendments. Federal Aid Community Development Block Grant Program funds for the Parkway Terrace Sidewalk Improvement Project amount to increase $100,000 to expense budget code, well, I guess we don't have to say it, as in the record, and to transfer funds for over budget accounts, $1,065 from day camp supplies to recreation administration equipment.
Is there a second?
Second.
So this is the CDBG grant that supported the Parkway Terrace work.
Right, this is just to record it. We've
Right.
received it, but this is
Yeah.
just to put it on the books.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Number 18 and the last on our list.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Jacqueline M. Trifoletti to the position of Office Assistant, Automated System, effective February 4th, my son's birthday, 2013, at a salary of $45,411. Said appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 12 weeks to a maximum of 52 weeks.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the appointment of a new assistant in the building department.
Yeah, we're very excited to welcome
Yes.
Jackie Trifoletti to our work family.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
I just had one thing to add. I just wanted to recognize the passing of George Waterbury, who was the town historian in the town of Mount Pleasant, and did a lot of great things for us in the village of Pleasantville, and he will be missed.
Certainly will. There was a service last night for George, who was 90 or 91, and I had occasion to think about the fact that his memorial service and funeral was held, 1,000 feet or so from the high school he went to.
Right.
And he was born and raised in the town of Mount Pleasant on a family farm, and went off to World War II and actually flew, I think, 80 combat missions as a naval aviator in World War II. And I found out something last night that I had not known before, and that is that there were 4 sons in the Waterbury family, and all 4 of them were in service in combat in World War II at the same time. And all 4 came back safely. So
Don't want that happening.
Should we
Right,
think
it's,
about that?
Yeah.
George was a remarkable person. Those of you who attend our Memorial Day service may recall that a couple of years ago, he provided a long and detailed description of the service and the history of each person on the World War II
Yeah.
monument. Most of those people being people that he went to high school with.
Yeah.
And those all being men who did not come back from World War II. So it was I recall, it was a very, very hot day.
Very
and
hot. People were passing out.
George was 88 or so, and Cub Scouts were passing out.
And George kept going.
And George was at the podium, and I kept thinking, well, I should stand behind him, because what if he starts to falter? But just as
Right.
he never did in the years before that, he didn't falter in the least, and probably he was
He
the
didn't
one
even
who
look
would have
like he
been
was breaking a sweat.
propping me up. So
I had a nice chat with him at the Veterans Day event as well, and it was, I'll remember that conversation.
So he leaves quite a legacy, and he and Bert Ruiz are the co-authors of a book about the town of Mount Pleasant history, and more will be said about that. We'll certainly have an occasion to comment about that at Memorial Day as well. So, any further comment or comments from the public?
there comments from the public?
And any comments from the
Okay.
public? Okay. That being the business for the evening, we'll go back into work session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for watching. We will see you again in 2 weeks on January 28th.